Next on our list is Mayor Michael Wolfe. Mayor Wolfe, fighting the landfill for 7 years was challenging, costly, and necessary to protect the water supply and quality of life in Hempstead. Thank you for your steadfast commitment to stop the Pintail Landfill when others said the landfill was a done deal. Now we know that it's a dead deal. Mayor Wolfe.
First of all, let me say good evening to everyone, and certainly, you know, I must say, probably one of the happiest moments in my life was hearing the news. In reality, the reason why I say that is because I'll never forget when Sandy came to City Hall. And we started talking about this, and the first thing she and I said, and you've heard it mentioned, and we talked about David and Goliath, that story that everybody's so familiar with. But as a man of God, one who preaches and one who teaches the principles of faith, it's the substance of things hoped for, it's the evidence of things not seen. Never for one day, regardless to what happened, whether we had to travel to Austin, sit in a hearing, listen to a judge who favored Pintail versus coming back home, and just knowing the one thing that all of us understand, when God is for you, who can be against you? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The former commissioner's court, when we said to that particular court at that day, if you continue at this thing, and you continue, we will fight you all the way to the Supreme Court. I meant that. We're a small city. You heard Bill talk about Pintail and the billions of dollars they had. But I never focus on that, because the reality is when you stand for what's right, you fight it tooth and nail, and you don't let nobody push you aside. CALH, City of Hempstead, Waller County Commissioner's Court, the present serving court, unfeigned effort. But you've also heard it said earlier. But all of you played a very significant role with this victory. Because everybody who believed stayed the course. Stayed the course. And I want to say, because in reality, I will tell you this. When you know that you must not quit, you keep going. You can get tired, you can get weary. But there's a saying, scriptural, be not weary in well doing. Because you're going to reap if you don't faint. You heard Bill talk about the legal minds. I'll tell you this much. You heard him talk about Black Pena and that team. Olsen and Olsen, Kelly Hart at Austin. Unique minds. And those minds worked diligently together. Because in reality, that's what got us where we are today. It's togetherness. I'll forever be indebted to all of you for what you have done for the city of Hempstead, for Waller County. And I told many people, this particular battle will set precedents in case history. There are many people. Go back to when Senator Kirsten, you heard her earlier talking about finalization. So important. Because now landfills understand that you cannot just because you have the money, just because you think you have the clout, that you can walk into a small rural community and assume because you're big and you have money that you got the power to do what you want to do.
Amen.
Won't ever happen. Won't ever happen. So with that said, thank you all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I next have the pleasure of introducing Commissioner John Amsler. John, you are passionate about your love for Hempstead and Waller County, doing what is right, saying what you mean and meaning what you say, your clear dislike for Pintail Landfill, and the certain former members of the Waller County Commissioners Court who extended such a warm, secretive welcome to Green Group Holdings. Thanks for your boldness when it was needed and your commitment to honesty, doing what is right for the citizens of Waller County. You raise the bar for others. We thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Earlier today, my lovely wife, Connie, asked me, what was I going to say tonight? And I said, I just don't have an idea of what I have to say. I'll just tell you this. I'm proud that I'm sixth generation Hempsteadian. I'm proud that my roots are here. I'm proud that this is my point of origin. And when I first heard the news of the invasion of the Pintail Landfill, I was terror-stricken. I was afraid because I knew in my heart that if that was allowed to happen here, Hempstead, Precinct 1, Waller County would be changed forever. We would become an industrial wasteland overnight. That was unacceptable to me. Some of you know that I happen to be a combative individual. I can explain to you why. Yeah. I don't like cowards. Never have. Don't want them around me. I have a military background. Some of you know that I'm a former Army aviator, but before that I was an Army infantry platoon leader. And you know what the mission of the infantry is, don't you? If you're an ex-military man, it is to identify the enemy and then close with the enemy and destroy the enemy. Oh, that's what I felt obligated to do in this circumstance. I knew who was in the present leadership on the Commissioner's Court. After all, if I'm sixth generation Hempsteadian, I know the history and all the bloodlines, shouldn't I? And particular bloodlines have particular signatures, let me say. Oh, when I took my first meeting of Commissioner Court, at the end of the meeting, Mr. Ernest Kaufman, who was the Chief Executive Officer for Pintail, came up to the stand where I was sitting, fixing to step down, and he stuck out his hand and he said, "Congratulations, Commissioner. I was wondering if I could have lunch with you today." And I looked at him and I said, "No, sir. I will not have lunch with you today or any day. Thank you." You see, if you don't ever shake hands with the devil, you can't be persuaded to adopt his corrupt ways. And this was a story of, in my opinion, this should have never happened. This was a corrupt situation from the very beginning. We were sold out. Well, I'm most appreciative that everybody here helped so much But you know what? I'll have to agree with my friend down here. Remember the conversation we had before this meeting? If God had not directly intervened in this, we would not be where we are today. Thank God.
Well, I get the additional pleasure of introducing Rick Welch. No, I've never said enough about you, Rick.
Oh, thank you very much. I'd like to start off in recognizing Senator Colkhorst and Representative Bell. They have met with us many times. Anytime we wanted to meet with them, all we had to do was call and would arrange a time. They spent hours listening to us, and they spent hours working on passing legislation in the last session. And it's, I feel like they're good friends to me now, and it's. And I'd like also to thank Trey Duhon. Trey Duhon has been good for this county. I don't know that we would have won this battle without Trey Duhon. He stepped in at a point in time that was absolutely critical. At the end of that lawsuit, you did all the right things. Many, many things. Mayor Wolfe, if Mayor Wolfe is still here, y'all don't realize how many times we popped into his office, and if he was there, he would always be willing to meet with us. We at one point in time when concerning the city's ordinance, we were there like 2 or 3 times a week for weeks on end, and he always spent the time and gave us as much time as we wanted to discuss things with him. And I'd like to thank John Amsler as well. John, I don't think I have ever spent so much time in my life talking to someone on the phone other than you. Most of that time was trying to convince you to hold back and keep it down. But John has become a really good friend, and I truly admire John. Let's see, where am I at now? So I'm going to try and go through this very quickly. It's basically, I wanted to start with the return of the first application, simply so I could show this picture. I know y'all have seen it, but I was the one that took this picture, and I went on site with our attorney Mike Woodward and 3 of our experts. And all 3 of our experts had about 30 to 35 years of experience in doing this sort of thing. And none of them, in all of that time, had ever seen a well, a piezometer spewing water into the air like this. And so I just had to show it one more time. Now, after that, I'm not sure if we knew about this immediately or not, but shortly thereafter we learned that Pintail had gone ahead and exercised the option to buy the land. And that took effect on June the 18th of 2016. And then, of course, on July 7th of 2016, they submitted parts 1 and 2 of the second application. And again, that was a bifurcated application process, only had the rudimentary of stuff in it. It didn't have any of the details or any of the engineering or the actual design of the landfill itself. TCEQ held a public meeting on October the 25th of 2016, and I'm sure y'all remember Senator Colkhorst's speech. It was very inspiring, and I felt really had a big impact with TCEQ. Green Group explained at that point that they thought they would be able to design a landfill that would be compliant with the Texas regulations at the site, but that they hadn't done all the engineering yet. And then, fortunately, in December of 2016, TCEQ did eventually return the application because of the city and county ordinances that prohibit it on site. Now, we were all very ecstatic about that back then, but we knew it wasn't the end. From there, Pintail took 2 different courses of legal actions. The first was on shortly after the return of the second application on December 29th, Pintail filed a lawsuit, which I call Lawsuit 1 in Travis County against the TCEQ in Travis County District Court. Then it takes a while for these lawsuits to get going because it takes a while for for it to be set up and so forth. On May the 26th, Pintail then submitted a petition for a contested case hearing with the TCEQ, claiming that TCEQ had committed a governmental takings of their property, that TCEQ, by returning the application, had reduced the value of their property by more than 25%. On July the 31st, CAL intervened in the first lawsuit. Pintail's petition for the contested case hearing on the takings claim was put on the commissioner's agenda at TCEQ on October the 4th. And at that meeting, the TCEQ commissioners listened to their arguments and promptly denied their request for a contested case hearing. And shortly thereafter, on November the 3rd, Pintail filed a second lawsuit, I'll call Lawsuit 2, in Travis County District Court. So as time went by, on February 23rd of 2018, this year, was the hearing on the merits, the actual trial for the first lawsuit. And a bunch of us went up there. I know Bill and Bob and Mike and a whole bunch of people, even Walter Smith from Precinct 2 went up there and was there. That lawsuit, that hearing on the merits went, 2 hours maybe? So forth. And a lot of times in district court cases, the judge will take it under advisement, and then you may 2 weeks, a month, sometimes 3 months later, they will eventually issue a ruling. The judge in that case, Judge Karen Crump, issued the ruling the very next day in favor of TCEQ and CAL and against Pintail. So on March the 16th, Pintail did appeal that, and they filed an appeal in the Third Court of Appeals in Austin. Because the Third Court of Appeals in Austin has such a heavy caseload, and the Supreme Court of Texas, who oversees the dockets, transferred it to the 14th Court of Appeal here in Houston. Now, May the 25th of 2018, in that appeal of Lawsuit 1, was their original deadline to file their initial brief. Instead of filing an initial brief, they filed for an extension, and they requested 30 days extension so that the new deadline would be June 25th of 2018. So we were all expecting that something would happen on June 25th of this year. Normally, if they were to file their initial brief, they would usually do that towards the end of the day, and we wouldn't usually get notice of that until after 5 o'clock. But we were all surprised to learn that morning that Pintail had issued a press release saying that they were dropping all of the litigation and dropping abandoning the Pintail Landfill project. That was a very joyous morning. And indeed, on that day, in the 14th Court of Appeals, Pintail filed a motion to dismiss, and Pintail also filed a notice of non-suit in Travis County for the second lawsuit. Now, that was really good to hear. It took a couple of days for the Travis County District Court to sign the order dismissing the suit. It took until July the 10th of 2018 for the 14th Court of Appeals to sign the order for the dismissal of the appeal. So that pretty much game over. However, we're all pinching ourselves. This is too good to be true. This is now part of our lives. I mean, we've spent 7 years fighting this. This is one of the things we have to think about every day of our lives. And so it was hard for us to really believe it. So since that time, Pintail did go in and they did plug and remove the surface improvements on all 30 of the piezometers on site, and they did file those plugging reports with the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, and we have proof of that. And that's required by law that they do that, and they did that. And then secondly, they changed their signs. So we're no longer pinching ourselves anymore. I don't know how I'm doing on time, but I'm going to take a little bit of extra time because I wanted to say a few words about Bill Huntsinger, Mike McCall, and Wayne Knox. They've been very gracious to me, very good to me. It has been an absolute honor and a pleasure to have been a part of this and to have them accept my views and include me in on all of that. Bill, Sandy, Mike, Karen, Wayne, and Sean, I can't tell you how much I respect you. I don't think most of the regular CAL members understand how much y'all have done in this. The countless hours in conference calls with our attorneys planning strategy, you would not believe. They made countless trips to Austin to meet with the attorneys and our experts. They had many meetings with our legislators, including many with Senator Colkhorst and Representative Bell and others. They attended many meetings with TCEQ officials in Austin and with EPA officials in Dallas. The countless number of times that we dropped by Mayor Wolfe's office, and the other meetings that we've had with Judge Duhan and other county officials. Bill and Sandy hosted our attorneys at their home during the City of Hempstead CAL versus Waller County Pintail lawsuit, providing them with adequate workspace so that they could spread their files out and plan for what would happen the following day. Mike handled all of the formation of the 501c3 and all of the accounting and banking responsibilities and kept our finances, handled everything, and made sure that we had the money, and when we ran low, when we had to give the extra push to do fundraising. Tremendous responsibility. Wayne Knox, it's been a pleasure to get to know Wayne Knox. Wayne Knox has incredible insight and was always thinking outside the box and always had a point that needed to be considered. It's been a true honor and a pleasure to have worked with all of these people over the years and gotten to know them. And there's so many other people that cannot be named for fear of leaving anybody out. But I've gotten to know many of y'all, and it has been a pleasure working with all of the garage sale people, Bob and Becky Gage, Jimmy and Donna Dishroon, many, many others. And I'd like to thank y'all, and it's good that it's over. I would hope and ask you to please join me in giving Bill Huntsinger, Mike McCall, and Wayne Knox a big round of applause.
And I realize at this point that I am probably assigned the most time to spend, or time more to spend than anybody, but I'm standing in front of you, cake and punch, and so I don't want to do that very long. I would want to also acknowledge that Wayne Dolcefino is here tonight, and we appreciate his being in this, being here to support this organization as he always has. Purpose for my purpose is to recognize those people out there who work so hard to make this happen. And the way that, I want you to look into the questions that I'm going to ask and find yourself in those questions. Find yourself being the person that stepped up and helped in various processes of this thing, and I'm going to make it as quick and efficient as I can. So I don't want any show of hands or anybody jumping up and doing a dance in the aisle or anything like that in the process. Did you attend one of the TCEQ's public meetings at the Hempstead High School? Now, there were 4 of them in all. Did you speak at one of the public meetings? Did you turn in comments to the TCQ? Prairie View A&M students alone filed over 2,000 comments, all delivered to the TCQ by hand. Well over 6,000 comment letters were filed with the TCQ, forcing the TCQ to modify their website accommodations to all of them. In other words, they never had that happen before, over 6,000 comments, and it just flooded the system. Did you know that we have a leadership council? That the organization formed a leadership council early on, and all of these functions that we've had, the fundraisers, the garage sale, all the events that have gone on, there have been a leadership council of about 30 people that would get together periodically, and we would talk about things, and we'd share our passions, our expertise and ideas for the association. That went on from the very beginning. Did you work to maintain CAL's database of members and send out e-blasts when needed? There was somebody working on that all the time. When you got an email, and we have 650 people or so in that database, that email was generated by somebody. Are you the one that learned about media relations that kept our activities well publicized in all the papers? Did you donate your time and money to have billboards displayed in support of the landfill fight? Did you help advertise CAL events, including putting up signs in your yards and on fence posts and displaying even event flyers in your place of business? Did you attend Commissioner's Court and make public comments to the commissioners concerning the landfill? Did you donate money to CAL? Because I'm the money guy, and this means something to me, but when we had some that put CAL in their budget and made monthly donations to CAL for several years in amounts up to $1,000 a month. We had others that attended the garage sales and made cash donations there. Money from other not-for-profit organizations that were involved in landfill fights from around the state donated to CAL. They emptied their bank accounts when they closed out their accounts to support CAL's efforts. We had people donate in kind things like photography, printing, advertising costs, sign purchases, and website maintenance. Garage sales, Bill already mentioned this. We had 43 garage sales and one unsung pumpkin patch. The pumpkin patch became an idea, a tremendous amount of work that went on over at Fraser's, but it just wasn't successful like we thought. It was just fall kind of an activity anyway. Did you donate? Oh wait, did you suggest we have garage sales and pumpkin patches fundraisers for CAL? Did you donate building space to allow for the garage sales to have a location in Hempstead? Did you donate items for the garage sale? Hundreds of people did, and members went all over the place to pick up those donated items. Did you work any of the garage sales, including preparation before the sale, on the day of the sales, including putting out signs and flyers, greeting people on the street and waving them into the parking lot, loading and unloading heavy merchandise in the parking lot? Did you work and support the garage sales to include being cashiers, cleaning, stocking shelves, and working on merchandise displays? Did you provide baked goods to the garage sales or work to sell those baked goods? An amazing thing to me is how much money was donated into the bake sales. To those people that worked on the bake sales, it was like, if you wanted a little package of cookies, well, throw a $20 bill in there. It was amazing to me how much money came in through the bake sales. Did you purchase anything at any of the garage sales? Then talk about We Stand United fundraisers, and this is real special to me because there was so much work went into it. We had four fundraisers in all, excluding the New Year's Eve party and dance. Did you lend your expertise to auctioneering, food preparation and serving, and experience at fundraising for both live and silent auctions to make our dinners, dances, and auctions a substantial success? Did you work on ticket sales and decorations for the fundraisers? Did you work long hours setting up and cleaning up after the fundraisers, including washing dishes? At close to midnight, I can still see it in my mind's eye, seeing 8 to 10 people in the kitchen at the KC Hall, scrubbing dishes, washing dishes, drying dishes, and putting them away. We generated upwards of $500,000 in revenue in those 4 fundraisers, but it was a huge amount of work. Did you donate auction items for the fundraisers? Did you sponsor the costs of meat, music, and other costs incurred? People would just say, I'll pay for the band, and stepped up to do so. Did you donate by funding a table sponsorship? Did you donate the cost of your employees to work and assist in our fundraisers? That happened a number of times. Other activities. Did you make the 2013 trip to Austin to lobby the legislature? Did you participate in the March on the Courthouse on February 12, 2013? And that has to mention the students from Prairie View, who they marched in protest and did a marvelous job for us that day. Did you attend, were you present at the Commissioners Court meeting that occurred on February 12, 2013? Did you attend the December 2014 trial between CALH and the City of Hempstead versus Waller County and Commissioners Court? Were you present at any of the Travis County court hearings that took place in Austin? Were you present at any of the meetings with the staff at the TCQ in Austin and the EPA in Dallas? Were you monitoring water quality in Clear Creek? Calendars, as it relates to our calendars that Joanne put on the table out front. Did you submit photos for the beautiful Waller County calendars? Did you purchase an ad for the calendars or help sell or purchase calendars? And then and as far as that's part of this concern, I just want to point one other thing, and that's just so you'll know that when we formed our association, we are an unincorporated association. We have a series of bylaws that were written and put together to include having a steering committee, and that worked to draft our bylaws, implement our bylaws, and meet periodically to keep the organization legal and on the right track. Committee members are Bill Huntsinger, Wayne Knox, Kelvin Kirby, Bob Gage, and Mike McCall. And this is the people that made this thing work from the standpoint of the legal side. In all, we generated $2,168,210 in revenue, and we spent $2,044,242. The future of CALH. We intend to keep the association intact for 2 years from the June 25th, 2018 date. We want to be watchful, diligent, especially as long as Pintail owns that land. Beginning, we have approximately $124,000 in the bank. Amazing, isn't it? Being a 501c3 organization, we are limited legally in what we do with the remaining funds. We are initially looking to see about using these funds to assist Waller County in developing a waste management plan for local governments as defined in Chapter 363 of the Health and Safety Code. A properly constructed and implemented waste management plan could help Waller County develop and implement a plan for the management of its solid waste in the future rather than trying to put a landfill on an unsuitable site. Lastly, all in all, we have accomplished something very rare. Our attorneys have told us that organizations like ours get formed often but very seldom can sustain the activity to the end. However, we did it. This community found the wherewithal to do what many said could not be done. We should all take pride in this tremendous accomplishment. Thank you.
Bottom line is you have done an awesome thing. We're to the end of the program now. There's one more thing to go. After the benediction, please come down and socialize, celebrate, visit with some of your elected officials. Before we do that, I want you to know that the gentleman who will give our benediction tonight, 7 years and 7 days and a little bit ago, as CALH began to get its feet on the ground, reminded us all that were there very strongly that if we didn't seek God's guidance on this objective that we were taking on, we might not get very far at all. I have been appreciative of Jimmy Dishroon having said that so straightforwardly. Every CALH meeting like this, our leadership council meetings and most everything else, every day before a garage sale, there was prayer. It is fitting that we close that way, and it is fitting that Jimmy Dishroon offer the benediction. Please rise with me for the benediction.
If y'all would, let's pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we just praise your name. You've been so wonderful to us. You've guided us through this 7 years and 7 days, and by reading the Bible, we know that 7 is your number of completion, and this is complete. Lord, we just thank you for all the people that you've brought in to fight this dump, and Lord, even the man that gave the 37 cents, he did a lot. And Lord, it's just a wonderful thing to see how this town and community has come together to fight for their land and their homes and the community. And Lord, with the lawyers that we had were just wonderful. The elected officials have just been wonderful. All the people have been wonderful. But without you, Lord, this wouldn't have happened. And in 2015, I think is the year, you sent us 38 inches of rain in 6 months. And that made the difference. That was the beginning of the end for Pintail Landfill. And so, Lord, we want to give you all the praise and all the glory. And there's one more thing, Lord. There's 723 beautiful acres out there on Highway 6 that we call the Rainey Ranch. And we ask that you just bless this land, that it just may stay beautiful for many years. And we ask this in the powerful name of Jesus. Amen.